Well, if you're a gun voter in Erie or Wyoming County, you have a choice to make in the upcoming June 25 Republican Party primary. Mitch Marten's versus David DiPietro. Who's going to fight for your gun rights in Albany? Stay tuned, guys. We're breaking this race down for you right now. Hey guys, Aaron Dorr here with the New York State Firearms Association. The June 25 primary is right around the corner, and we're being asked by a lot of gun voters in Western New York about this matchup between David DiPietro and Mitch Marten. It's the 147th Assembly District, and it covers the lion's share, well, half of Erie County and Wyoming counties. And the question you're asking us is not who says they're pro-gun, because it's a Republican Party primary in Western New York, and so everyone says that they're pro-gun. The question you've asked us to help you guys understand is, who can we trust? Who can we count on to not just campaign on our gun rights, but to fight for them if they're elected and sent to Albany? Now, guys, we can't tell you guys who to vote for, but what we have done in this video is give you guys the information that you're asking for to make your own more informed decision. We've combined the results of the incumbent's voting history, in the case of David DiPietro, with our candidate survey program and public statements made by these candidates to give you guys this very informative snapshot. And we're going to begin with David DiPietro. And if you know David, you know the guy's been in office for 12 years. And while sometimes people in office start out hot and they kind of just like fall apart over time, David DiPietro has done pretty much the exact opposite. He's always been pro-gun, but David is now the leader of the gun rights movement in the Assembly in Albany, and everybody here in Albany understands that. When it comes to this campaign cycle, David completed his New York State Firearms Association candidate survey 100% pro-gun. What that means to us is not just that David will vote no on Hochul's gun control agenda. Everyone in the Republican Party should be able to do that. What it means is that David is going to continue to be a leader in the fight for gun rights by sponsoring pro-gun bills. If a candidate won't pledge to sponsor pro-gun bills in a campaign, that's a pretty bad sign. It pretty often means they're going to be a weak rhino if they're elected into office. In DiPietro's case, 100% pro-gun, and frankly, it's no surprise. For 6 years now, David DiPietro has been our lead bill sponsor in the Assembly on Stand Your Ground law. Some of the bill numbers, I looked them here a minute ago. From this current cycle, it's AB 05433, and one of the bills in the past from 2019 and 2020 was AB 10113. And so the lead sponsor on the bill to pass Stand Your Ground law here in Albany, in the Assembly anyway, has been David DiPietro. He's also been for years the lead sponsor of legislation to repeal the horribly named SAFE Act, which makes it a crime for us to own assault weapons and 30-round magazines and things like that here in New York State. The lead sponsor on that as well. He's also, incidentally, the lead plaintiff on our lawsuit right now against Kathy Hochul over last year's ammo registration law. You guys know what I'm talking about. To buy ammo now here in New York State, we have to get every round of that ammo run through a state police background check if the damn database works. And we then have the privilege, heavy sarcasm intended, of registering with the state of New York every single round of ammo that we buy. And of course, we pay for the privilege of submitting to this tyranny. Our lawsuit is well on its way right now here in New York State in federal district court. And David DiPietro is the lead plaintiff in that lawsuit. And it's easy to say, well, I mean, yeah, he's on a lawsuit. But I'm telling you right now, it is not an easy thing to call people up and say, do you want to help us sue Kathy Hochul? Because these people have power. Tish James has power. They can come after people, just ask President Trump, and they can ruin people's lives with the power that they have. And so when I called around seeking plaintiffs for this lawsuit, a lot of people said, I'd love to, but no thanks. David was like, sure, let's sue her. And so Every time we have gone to David DiPietro and asked him to lead in the fight for gun rights, whether it's sponsoring Stand Your Ground law, leading the fight to repeal the SAFE Act, suing Kathy Hochul over last year's ammo registration law, every single time David DiPietro answered that call, has been a leader in the fight for gun rights, clearly a fighter for the Second Amendment for gun owners, not just in Western New York, but across the entire state. That's the recap on David DiPietro. And that brings up Mitch Marten. Now, what we know about Mitch is pretty straightforward. He's a local law enforcement officer. But when it comes to gun rights, he would not answer the New York State Firearms Coalition or Association's candidate survey program. And for us, when a candidate will not put their views in writing, when a candidate won't answer a simple 10-question survey like DiPietro did, it's a sign for real alarm. Because oftentimes when a candidate will not sign the survey, it ordinarily means they intend to be part of the rhino establishment crowd in Albany, not a leader in the fight for gun rights. So when it comes to all the questions like, would you help us repeal the CCIA, the Concealed Carry Improvement Act, again, heavy sarcasm intended, we don't know where Mitch Marten stands because he wouldn't answer that question in the survey. Would he help us repeal the SAFE Act? Again, we don't know where he stands because Mitch Marten wouldn't answer the question. The same for, would you oppose mental health gun control? We don't know. He won't say. Would you help us repeal unconstitutional red flag gun seizures in Albany? Would you sponsor that bill? Martens won't say. Every question we asked him, what about liability insurance for gun owners? That's a huge ongoing debate right now here in Albany. Would you support or oppose that legislation? Every question we asked Mitch Marten, he refused to answer. And so we simply cannot tell you where he stands right now on the hot issues of the day facing gun voters here in New York State. But I dug a little bit deeper into his website, or actually one of our staff guys did, and I want to read to you guys some of these quotes because to me, they were very concerning in the context of the Second Amendment. When he's basically castigating David DiPietro, he says, we should be working together. Republicans, Democrats, it's all about building relationships. And I believe that in the past, I've built those relationships with all party affiliations. Sounds kind of smooth, right? Sounds like he's a coalitions kind of guy. I don't know about you, but we have seen nothing but tyranny from the Democrats since 2018, and frankly, long before then. But since 2018's election and uniparty rule here in Albany, all we have seen from the Democrats when it comes to our gun rights is total tyranny. And the last thing that we need right now, in my opinion, is Republicans who want to go to Albany to make deals and build rapport and build relationships with these people who clearly want to disarm every single one of us. And so while Mitch Marten is castigating DiPietro for voting no on, quote, almost everything, that's what we want in our elected officials in Western New York. We want them to vote no on every single bit of Kathy Hochul's gun control agenda. That's very concerning stuff to me to see on his website, him bragging about trying to work with the Democrats to find common ground. There is no common ground with people who very obviously want to disarm every single one of us. And I want to mention also, Mitch Marten mentions quite a bit on his website about his local political history. And he brags about the folks that he has worked with in the past. And one of the names that he mentions here is Chris Jacobs. Now, everybody in Western New York knows the story of Chris Jacobs, former state senator, a do-nothing chump, I should say, when he was a state senator, who then became Congressman Chris Jacobs. And it was Congressman Jacobs two and a half years ago who came out and supported Dianne Feinstein and Nancy Pelosi in the House in their agenda to nationwide ban now on so-called assault weapons. So Chris Jacobs wanted to extend New York's ban on these firearms and New York's ban on magazines over 10 rounds of ammunition capacity and all the rest of the SAFE Act. He wanted to make that a national standard, a national law. And so he came out in Western New York, of all places, loudly championing the Biden, Feinstein, Pelosi effort to ban AR-15s nationwide. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, if I'm running to represent pro-gun Western New York, I wouldn't be promoting my friendship and my affiliation with Chris Jacobs, who was run out of office on a rail by gun voters here in Western New York. But that's the kind of people that Mitch Marten is bragging about having an affiliation with, an association with, on his website right now. You can see it for yourself. And so when you kind of combine these things, where he will not answer his gun rights candidate survey, he will not tell us where he stands on the issues, his statements about wanting to work with the Democrats in Albany, and his absolutely tone-deaf attempt to bolster his name ID with the association with Chris Jacobs, who is the #1 definition these days of a turncoat backstabbing rhino here in New York State, it paints a very concerning picture. And so guys, if you see Mitch Marten between now and Election Day at a forum, knocking on your door, or any place else, be sure to ask him, why won't you answer the New York State Firearms Association candidate survey? Why won't you put your views on the Second Amendment in writing? Ask him that question. And if you see David DiPietro, be sure and thank David for always standing up and fighting for gun owners. Lead sponsor on pro-gun bills, his 100% pro-gun candidate survey, lead plaintiff on federal lawsuits against Kathy Hochul. Thank him, guys, for his strong stance when it comes to the Second Amendment. Guys, do me a favor, share this video on social media far and wide. Make sure everyone knows where these candidates stand, and get involved in the fight today, guys, at joinnysfa.com.